One question I'm often asked by knitters wanting to start their own hand-dyed yarn company: how do I stand out? I know, there are so many indie yarn dyers out there right now, it seems like everyone and their monkey's uncle is dyeing yarn. Everyone's a DJ. So the prospect of wanting to start your own hand-dyed yarn company in an oversaturated market seems virtually impossible. But I beg to differ. I'm here to tell you that it's completely doable. Case in point, I've been dyeing yarn as my full-time job for nearly 6 years. Needless to say, I believe I have a bit of wisdom to impart. I like to believe that there's room for everybody and we can all bring our own personal brand of uniqueness to the table, so to speak. Hopefully this video will inspire, encourage, or give you that confidence boost that you need to be the best yarn dyer that you can totally be. Tip number 1, niching down. And by that I mean, what are you into? What are your interests? What makes you unique? Maybe it's Greek mythology, maybe it's Gothic architecture or independent films or cheeses of the world, or I don't know, who knows, cereal. My advice is to look to those unique offbeat interests and channel that into your yarn dyeing. So I am into Gothic literature, be it Jane Eyre or Edward Gorey illustrations. I take elements from that and work them into my style of dyeing. It's not about trying to appeal to everyone. At the end of the day, you really want to zone in on a specific audience, your people. Those are going to be your cheerleaders, and those are going to be the people that keep coming back to you for more. When you start to dye things that are popular or what you think everyone wants and trying to please everybody, that's when your brand gets diluted. Plus, you're not going to have fun doing it. I remember when I first started dyeing yarn, neon colors, speckles, and all the crazy wacky colors were in style, and I admittedly, fell down that rabbit hole a little bit, but at the end of the day, I just felt so uninspired. It wasn't what I was into, and I regrouped and I realized that, yeah, I am into more mellow, muted, gothy, dark, moody colors, and that's what I've been sticking with, and it's been working really well for me. All that to say that you're way better off dyeing yarn that directly inspires you. Tip number 2, who is your ideal customer? This tip I love because you can create your own customer. They don't have to be real, they don't have to exist. You can just make up a character off the top of your head, give them a name, give them interests, what do they like, where do they shop, and dye yarn specifically for them. If that's not your jam, who is somebody you admire? A celebrity you would love to dye yarn for or knit a sweater for, a knitwear designer you would love to collaborate with. And that in itself will give you a guideline or a roadmap, so to speak, and keep you in check. It's kind of like a way to check in with yourself and say, hey, am I staying true to my brand? Am I staying true to my technique? Whatever your vision is for your hand-dyed yarn company, that is one of the key guidelines to refer to once in a while to make sure that you're on brand, so to speak. Tip number 3, keep it simple. So this one's at the top of my list. Start small, start simple. When you're first starting out, it can get really stressful if you have too much on your plate. Case in point, when I first started out, I offered somewhere up to 4 to 5 bases at a time, and I would really wonder why customers would get so angry at me when they couldn't score sweater quantities. Yeah. Tip number 4, trial and error. Again, if you're just starting out, you might not have a clear idea of what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and it's completely okay to kill your darlings, so to speak. For example, I have tried vending at festivals, I've tried doing trunk shows. While I do like the aspect of getting to meet and greet customers, see them in person, and allow customers to see my yarns in person, it's just not something that works for me. I am a hardcore introvert, and it takes a lot out of me energy-wise, and I'm lucky to be in the position where I can decide, okay, trunk shows and festivals are not for me. I would rather attend a festival and enjoy it as opposed to working them. I also tried hiring somebody, and while they were a great employee, I realized that I was better off working alone. I preferred to be a one-woman show, 100% hands-on with my business. What works for one yarn dyer is not always going to work for the next yarn dyer, so definitely test the waters, trial and error, kill your darlings, and find your own unique way of doing business. Tip number 5 is probably one of my favorites. Say no more often. When I first started out, I would say yes to practically everything, and I ended up biting off more than I can chew. Thus, in turn, letting a lot of people down when I had to come clean and say, I don't think I have time for that, or it's not going to happen, or I overextended myself, I'm so sorry. And it's more than okay to say no to an opportunity, especially if it does not align with your business's core values values, your brand, or your time. I've turned down plenty of collaborations, trunk shows, I've said no to wholesale. Even if at the time the idea sounds like a great opportunity, you're jumping up and down with excitement, but something in your gut tells you, maybe I should hold off before replying, take that as a sign. It's okay to tell the other person that you need a little bit more time to think about it and you'll get back to them. They're not gonna go anywhere. If the other party needs a response right away and they're not willing to give you the time to think about it, then maybe the opportunity really isn't worth it after all. Because as entrepreneur Derek Sivers once said, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. This next tip is a big one, and that is stop comparing yourself to other yarn dyers. I am not Hedgehog Fibers, I'm not Countess Ablaze, I am Voolenvine Yarns. I love Hedgehog Fibers, I love Countess Ablaze. No problem with them, but I don't want to be them. For example, when I first started out, I felt immense pressure to grow my business up to par with Hedgehog Fibers, but I realized that really wasn't for me. I like being a small indie yarn dyer, even if that meant that I couldn't meet the demand of customers. Believe me, I get plenty of angry emails from frustrated customers when they miss out on a shop update, they couldn't get a colorway that they wanted, and I feel their frustration, but growing my business is not what I want to do. Again, I enjoy being small, I enjoy creating quality hand-dyed yarns, so, it's okay to go down your own path, so to speak. I will say it's good to keep up with other indie dyers, seeing what they're up to, what they're dyeing, what styles are out there, but don't get sucked into feeling like you have to start doing what they're doing. Otherwise, again, your branding is going to get lost, you're going to get discouraged, and you're going to try to fit into a box that you really don't belong in. Again, you don't want to be doing what everyone else is doing. You want to be unique, you want to be doing things the way you do them and you enjoy them, because that is what's going to make you stand out. Show your work. And this tip was indeed inspired by Austin Kleon's book, Show Your Work, which I highly recommend to any creative feeling, creatively stifled or blocked at the moment. But yeah, as the book suggests, show your work, get it out there, don't be shy. You can't just list it on Etsy or a website and hope for the best. As I mentioned, because I had my podcast, I already had built-in customers, so it's really good to share who you are on social media, let people know who you are, what you do, and the rest will follow. It doesn't have to be very complicated. It can just be as simple as setting up an Instagram account, taking photos of your yarn, posting them, tagging them. Hashtags are so valuable. See what other tags indie yarn dyers are using and tack them onto your own, but make sure that they're generic. You don't want to tag, hashtag Voolenvine Yarns to your hand-dyed yarn company, because that would just be weird. And I know I said that I stopped doing trunk shows and festivals because they're just not for me, but if you are just starting out, festivals and collaborations and trunk shows are definitely a good shoe-in for getting your name out there. And when you do become successful, you can get to a point where you can decide that, hey, this was great for getting my name out there, but I don't really enjoy doing them, so I'm not going to do them anymore. Again, if you love doing them, then more power to you. But that's the beauty of being your own boss and running your own hand-dyed yarn company. You can decide these things as they come up. Last but not least, this is probably one of the most important tips that I can impart upon you. Take care of your customers. Oh my gosh, you guys, customer service is so essential. Good customer service. These are your people. Put yourself in their shoes. If you were to spend a lot of money on a skein of hand-dyed yarn and you were to discover it was either, lost in the mail, there was a tangle, there was an imperfection or something, whatever it may be, what is the type of response you would like to receive? For whatever reason, if a customer is unhappy with their order, suck it up and give them a refund or an exchange. The sunk cost of a whole sweater quantity's worth of yarn is nothing compared to a bitter review that will last on the internets for years to come. I don't know about you, but I like happy customers. Alright my friends, I hope wherever you are in your yarn dyeing journey, you found this video helpful and inspiring. So go out there, go dye yarn, and make me proud. Please feel free to like and subscribe down below, and if you'd like to support this channel, hop on over to my Patreon page for all sorts of bonus content, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!